In this video, I'm going to show you how to work with geographic data. So the first thing you might want to do is make a map. And to do that, we use the MakeMap function. And you have to give it latitude and longitude values of where you want all the points to appear on the map. So I type the data set, the $, and then I'm using the tab key to find the variable where the latitude is, and then a comma, the data set, the $, and where the longitude is. And then if I hit enter, a map gets plotted where all of the points in the data set are visible. So there's a dot for each point. And one of the things that I can do here is I can change the color of the dots. So let's say I want them to be red. I'll hit the up arrow to get to my previous command and then type color equals red. And when I hit enter, now the points on the plot are red. Another thing I might want to do is scale the dots so the size of the dot corresponded to some other variable in my data set. So say I wanted bigger dots when there were more bikes seen at that intersection and smaller dots when there were fewer bikes. So to do that, I can use the scaleby parameter, and I put in here a variable that I want to scale by. So again, I type the data set, the $, and then I choose a variable that I want to scale by. And when I hit enter, you see that each of the dots is a different size corresponding to how many bikes were seen there. The next thing you might want to do using a map is zoom in so that you can look at just a specific portion of it. And to do this, you need to define a new extent. And the way you do this is you name your extent. I'm going to call mine E because that's a simple short name. You put an equal sign and you type drawExtent and open parenthesis, close parenthesis. You don't have to put anything in the parentheses. You just press enter. And now we're going to define the new extent of the map. An extent here means the same kind of thing it means in English. It's kind of the whole dimension of it, all of it. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take my cursor, which is turned into this little plus sign, and I'm going to click once for the top corner of the map that I want to draw next time, and then once for the bottom corner. And now you see this red box appeared, and that's the extent of the next map that I'm going to make. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the up arrow and get back to my plain map here, and then add a third parameter, which is that extent, which I named E. So I'm typing that in my parentheses. And when I hit enter, now I've zoomed in on the map so that I'm just seeing that extent that I defined. And again, in this map I could change the color or scale by some other variable, but I'm just looking at that small area. The final thing you might want to do with geographic data is make a spatial subset. So maybe you want to do something with these points. This is sort of West Los Angeles, and maybe you want to make a plot of something that just has to do with West Los Angeles. So in order to do this, you want to make a spatial subset, and we're going to use the command SpatialSubset. And this takes the same parameters that the map takes. It's the latitude and the longitude, and then that extent that you defined. And when you hit enter, what you get are the indices, that's like the rows in the data frame that are within this spatial subset. So the second one, the third one, the fourth one, but not the fifth one, etc. And if you want to use these indices for something, you actually have to save them as a new variable and give them a name. So I'm going to hit the up arrow, and then I'm going to go to the beginning of the line, and I'm going to call this West LA, put the equal sign, and hit enter. And now nothing appears here, but we can see West LA appears in my workspace. And now I can use this to subset the data. So if I do LA bike and the square braces, and then I tell it West LA and put a comma because I want all of the columns to appear. If I hit enter, now, well, it just printed out here, but this is the piece of the data set that falls inside this map. So maybe I will give this a new name, and I'll call this West LA data. And then when I hit enter, This appears in my data, and I can click to preview it. So you can see that it's a little bit smaller than the full data set, and it's right here. And now I could use this to, for example, make a plot of the West LA data type, and I could compare that to the plot of all of the data, which is LA bike. And so I could scroll back and forth between these two plots to see the difference in the distribution between the spatial subset and the whole data set. So to summarize, we learned how to make a map using the MakeMap function and change the color, scale by a certain variable, and zoom in on the map using the drawExtent function. And we learned how to do a spatial subset using the SpatialSubset function.